Welcome to Nursing 101. My name is Bonnie, and I'm going to be your instructor for this class. I know we haven't met in person, but eventually we may meet in person. But until then, you're going to just hear my voice. So I'm going to start lecturing on Chapter 1, The Origins of Nursing, and then I'm going to complete also lecture on Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. The homework for chapters 1, 2, and 3 is due on Friday, March 27th by 3 p.m. If you have any questions regarding how to access your homework, please send me an email at bolson@iot.edu. That's B Olson, Olson is Olson, at iot.edu, and I will try to respond back to you as quick as I can. So to start with, we're going to start with Chapter 1, which is the origins of nursing and the historical influences of nursing. History shows us that care has been provided for the sick even way before the time of Christ and is based on mythical figures that are modern symbols of medicine. This is just a couple pictures of the different modern symbols of medicine. Our historical influences. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, emphasized the importance of caring for the whole person. Holistic healthcare, and thus helped lay the groundwork for modern nursing and medicine. His holistic approach translates into the nurse's attentiveness to the client's needs, their emotions, lifestyles, physical changes, spiritual needs, and individual challenges. The Florence Nightingale Pledge and the Practical Nursing Pledge are both based on the Hippocratic Oath. What we have to remember, as we have all chose nursing as a career, that individual attributes required to be a nurse include a strong sense of responsibility and the highest standards of integrity. Personal conviction and flexibility are necessary foundations of a nurse, and a nurse must be well educated and integrate the art and the science of working with people. Because we do work with a vast assortment of individuals throughout our career. So, nurses were not only responsible for like nutrition and their diets, were responsible for rehabilitative needs, so the role of the nurse in the healthcare system has become so diverse and specialized to meet the fast-growing needs of our clients. So, as we set out, and also with historical influences, the Crusades. This all started in 1096 to 1291. And I promise you, you will not need to know dates unless I absolutely tell you that is a date I want you to remember. Otherwise, you do not need to know the various dates that are going to be presented throughout this chapters 1 and 2. So the Crusades in 1096 to 1291, military personnel conducted most nursing care. The symbol for this order was the Maltese cross, which was a forerunner for nursing school pins that are worn today. In the dark ages of nursing, until the 1800s, nursing was considered the most menial of all tasks. There was a few women who cared for the sick, and most of them were either prisoners or prostitutes. And then in 1836, Pastor Theodore Feldner established the Kaiserwerth School of Nursing, and the Kaiserwerth School of Nursing was one of the first formally established schools of nursing in the world. And by the late 1800s, with the increase in the number of schools for trained nurses, the status of nursing began to improve. And then as On page 3 of your book in chapter 1, also included other interventions, not interventions, but innovations, which were the establishment of a nurse's residence, entrance examinations and academic and personal requirements, including character reference, records of each student's progress, later known as the Nightingale Plan, which is a model for current nursing programs, and records of employment of students after graduation or a formal register, the beginnings of nursing practice standards. So nursing in the United States. Before I move on to the contributors to the development of nursing in the United States, I want to talk about nursing in the United States. So the influence of Florence Nightingale and this Kaiserwerth School extended to the United States when Pastor Fieldner came to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. In the United States, the Pittsburgh Infirmary was the first real school of nursing in the United States, although limited training existed in other hospitals in New York and Pennsylvania before then. In 1873, there were 3 nursing programs based on the Nightingale Plan that were formally established. They were the Bellevue Hospital School of Nursing in New York, the Connecticut Training School in New Haven, and the Boston Training School at Massachusetts General Hospital. The most notable American nurses, the first was Dorothea Dix. She campaigned against the inhumane treatment of the mentally ill. Clara Barton founded the organization now known as the American Red Cross. Melinda Richards was the first trained nurse in the United States. Isabel Robb founded the School of Nursing at Johns Hopkins University and 2 national nursing organizations, and she also wrote one of the earliest nursing textbooks. Lavina Dock assisted Robb in founding the American Society of Superintendents of Training Schools of Nursing, and Mary Nutting established the first college-based nursing program at Teachers College of Columbia with Robb. Lillian Wald was considered the founder of American Public Health Nursing. Mary Mahoney was the first African-American graduate nurse and promoted fair treatment of African Americans in healthcare. And Mary Breckinridge started one of the first midwifery schools in the United States. So these are just very notable American nurses throughout the times of, where they place their focus at. And then we have our pioneering nursing schools in the United States. The University of Minnesota was the beginning of nursing as a profession. The Ballard School, the YWCA opened this first practical nursing school in the United States in Brooklyn, New York. And so that one there was just a program that offered a 3-month course to train women in simple nursing care. And the Ballard School closed in 1949 because of the YWCA reorganization. Another pioneering nursing school in the United States was the Thompson Practical Nursing School, which was founded in Brattleboro, Vermont, and that still exists today. And Richard Bradley, who was the executor to Thomas Thompson, determined that local citizens needed nursing services. So what he did was he had taken some of Thompson's money that was left to him, and he established the Thompson Practical Nursing School in Brattleboro as a result of that. And then we also have the Household Nursing School, which was founded by women who wanted to provide nursing care in the home, and that operated until 1984. So the first half of the 20th century, there was 36 PN schools opened, and then from 1948 to 1954, 260 additional schools opened, and today there are over 1,500 practical nursing schools. So important milestones in the history of the nursing education. In 1908, the American Red Cross began offering home nursing education to teach women how to care for illnesses within their families. In 1914, Mississippi became the first state to designate licensed practical nurses, and by 1955, all states had laws to license practical nurses. The first state to have a mandatory licensure for LPNs to practice was New York. And then in 1917, the U.S. Congress passed the Smith-Hughes Act to promote vocational, technical, and public education. In 1919, the first vocational school-based nursing program opened in Minneapolis. In 1941, the Association of Practical Nurse Schools was founded. 1942, the U.S. Office of Education planned and advocated the first practical nursing curriculum for the entire country. In 1966, the Chicago Public Health School Systems program was the first practical nursing program to be accredited by the National League for Nursing. So, during the war, nursing during wartime. Nursing during wartime has long been important. I mean, if you think about it, from, Florence Nightingale in the Crimea to the American Civil War, the Spanish-American War, Korea, Vietnam, and continuing to the wars of the 21st century, nurses do play a vital role. World War I marked the first emergency training of nurses. During this time, the Army School of Nursing was developed. And then the U.S. Cadet Nurse Corps was established during World War II. And more than 14,000 volunteer nurses graduated in about 2 years. It also marked the first time that men as well as women were actively recruited into nursing. However, male nurses were not given equal rank to female nurses in the armed forces until 1954 during the Korean War. So remember, male nurses were not given equal rank to female nurses in the armed forces until 1954, which was during the Korean War. By the end of the war, emphasis was placed on improved graduate education for nurses. Nurses also began to assume a broader, more responsible role, and that is a trend that continues on today. The current influential trends in nursing: the nurses' responsibilities have increased as a direct result of the following trends: higher acuity in hospitals and long-term settings, a shift to community-based care, developments in technology. Technology has improved over the years. So, as nurses, clients, and family members, they often have to learn to operate highly sophisticated equipment to manage conditions in the home. And the teaching role of nursing is emphasized to a greater extent, especially when we have to teach clients and family members how to operate this equipment. Lifestyle factors and greater life expectancies, because many people are living much longer and are more active and healthy into their later years than they used to be in past generations. Changes in nursing education. Education has changed throughout the years, and many LPNs and LVNs are returning to school to become registered nurses, and there are also many different type of career ladder programs that are available out there. And then also increased autonomy. Today's nursing world is a collaboration with others in the healthcare field. Primary care that was previously just delivered by physicians can be delivered by nurses who succeed in advanced educational opportunities and specialized clinical experiences. And also social factors. Because many of our clients are homeless, unemployed, or underemployed, these factors create a need for more healthcare in the public sector. National and state healthcare legislation are promoting the concepts of preventative treatment and universal ability of healthcare. The nursing insignia uniforms and the nursing school pin. The nursing insignia, the Nightingale lamp, remains a standard of nursing insignia. The nursing uniform. Clients usually feel more comfortable when nurses are easily identifiable and distinguishable from other staff. Remember, your name tag is part of your uniform. And then the nursing school pin. The Nightingale lamp is also a common component of the nursing pin. And then today, many nursing school pins bear some religious symbols, such as a cross based on the Maltese cross or a Star of David. Even though the school may not be directly affiliated with a religious organization. Remember that as you embark on your nursing career, you continue nursing's history and heritage.